Welcome to LMP Talks Wrestling. We're back after a 2-week mini break to smash another podcast. If you're listening and you're enjoying our content, please give us a subscribe on YouTube or click the follow button on SoundCloud. That way you don't miss a show. We're pumping out stuff every few days or so. I mean, again, apologies for not having a podcast on the first 2 weeks, but, it is what it is, the situation around the world. But getting back to the wrestling discussion, WWE's Money on the Roof is less than 2 weeks away, and AEW is going back to airing live briefly next Wednesday as Double or Nothing approaches. But before we can chat anything, please help me welcome the guy that's been practically keeping these podcasts going during this lovely period that we're on during lockdown. James is back once again. So how's it going this evening, bud?
It's going great. It's nice to be to feel like I'm wanted for something. So yeah, thank you for that, man. How about yourself?
It's going as good as it can go. I mean, I'm trying to find things to do, playing games and doing some organization, and of course keeping up with wrestling. But just finding crazy ways to be productive.
Yep, whatever that might be. It's been a bit of a weird week this week, but yeah, keeping busy, just finding stuff to do, and wrestling is that escape, which is good.
Yeah, it is, and that's why I appreciate it so much. I mean, I know that there's a lot of talk about there, and you and I have even spoken about this before, about whether WWE is essential. Like, is that our place to decide? But I mean, at the end of the day, as long as, I hope to God that they're being as careful as possible, but would I rather it not happen? Absolutely. But if they're going to be putting their lives on the line and doing all this stuff and trying to put entertainment out there for the masses, then I'm grateful for it, at least them trying, and grateful for keeping that structure in my life going, because, I watch Raw, AEW, Smackdown religiously because I'm one of those big giant nerds and I can't stop it. So, it's just something to have to keep you occupied during the week.
Exactly, and it's a bit of escapism, which we all need in these times. And yeah, we've had those discussions of whether it should be happening or not. And yeah, I mean, it's happening. As you say, hopefully everybody is being as safe as they can be. That's just what the situation is right now. And yeah, just appreciating what we've got, and yeah, looking forward to this crazy corporate ladder match that's coming up in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, we could just totally segue right into the Money in the Bank, or the Money on the Roof as they're calling it now. It's interesting, the lineup that we have for that, and I'll totally just line up. Already we have, for the women's, Asuka versus Shayna Baszler versus Nia Jax versus Dana Brooke versus Lacey Evans versus Carmella. Like, those are 6 pretty crazy names. Like, just out of an early fun prediction, what do you think of the 6 women who are in the match, and who do you think is going to win?
I think there's been some interesting choices made. I was very surprised to see Carmella go over Mandy Rose, for example, on SmackDown. So that was an odd decision. I'm surprised Sasha Banks is not in this match, but Lacey Evans is. I would have put Lacey in this match anyway. In terms of the Raw side, I mean, again, Kairi Sane, I would have rather seen in this match, but here we go. Shayna Baszler. We had the discussion after WrestleMania saying that Shayna maybe should go away for a bit and build up that momentum, but to be in a very WWE match, the Money in the Bank match is very WWE, it's very sports entertainment. Whether that suits her style and the way that she's perceived, I don't know. Asuka is Asuka. I mean, it's going to be fantastic. Dana Brooke is an interesting choice. Dana seems to be getting a bit of a push and being highlighted with her partnership with Carmella. So that is an interesting storyline. In terms of the match, I honestly can't call the women's match at all. I would initially say Shayna, but as I said before, I don't feel like a very WWE trope would suit her. I'm puzzled by it. I could see Nia Jax having it just for the heat, but yeah, it's a tricky one, is the women's match.
It certainly is. There's how many people there have won it already? Carmella won, and I think that's it. The only winner in there, because Alexa Bliss won it before,
Yep, and then Bailey won it last year.
and then Bayley won it last year. So at least it's the only person who's won it again is Carmella. So, or I guess technically, I guess Carmella won it twice if you think about her winning that match twice.
yeah, it was interesting to see WWE do a countdown of Money in the Bank winners, and they showed the SmackDown match rather than the Money in the Bank match that Carmella won. It was a bit of typical WWE PR stunt there. Let's just tweak the history a little bit. Don't pay attention to the fact it says SmackDown and not Money in the Bank on any of the Tigertron or anything like that. So yeah, it will be an interesting match. It's going to be fantastic. Obviously they didn't announce. Daniel Bryan kind of let it slip that they're running both matches at the same time.
Yeah, that's interesting too.
So, and again, that kind of led to my confusion about Mandy, because obviously you got Otis in the men's match. You could have had them working together, but yeah, it's an interesting lineup. Not a lineup I would expect, but let's see what they can do. As I say, this one for me is hard to call.
Who would you want to win?
Who I'd want to win? I'd want Asuka to win, just because I feel like she could do a lot with the briefcase, and her shouting in Japanese with a briefcase and doing some foolish stuff with that and showing her comedy side that she really has developed, or shown, should I say, more in the last couple of months, would be really fun with that briefcase. So having the briefcase would be an ongoing threat, but the problem is with Becky Lynch kind of went over Asuka too easily. So maybe it's just Shayna, booking wise, but I'd prefer Asuka just for the stuff you can do with that briefcase.
I'm thinking Asuka will win as well. I'm thinking that she's at least one of the few people that are going to be high on the list to win, or Shayna. But I mean, like, if I had to pick two out of the people, I would pick Asuka and Shayna. But I would not be upset at all if Dana Brooke won.
That would be a nice change. That would give it to somebody that's climbing the ladder. I honestly wouldn't be opposed to Lacey Evans winning it if she was a heel. I don't think it quite works with a babyface winning it, because that threat of being a bit underhanded with the cash-in always seems to work. But I don't think anyone's fully it's hard to judge, actually, because we don't have the crowd to check who's over. But Dana's a good shout for your babyface, because you've got. I was just checking the lineup there and just seeing the baby faces and the heels, and yeah, Dana's baby face, isn't she? So yeah, that was not a bad call, actually. Someone getting their chance.
Yeah, it's somebody different. Dana Brooke has been, in and out of trying to get a push and not get a push, and she does have, decent wrestling ability from what we've been able to see, but she's never been able to be given like the reins of things. Like, she hasn't been able to develop a character. She hasn't been able to develop an actual move set. Like, nobody knows who this Dana Brooke character is. We just kind of see this person backstage being kind of happy or not, or a little bit of opinion here and there. But for the most part, like, wasn't Dana Brooke with Titus Worldwide at one point?
Yeah, she was like the statistician.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But it confuses me, does this match, because Liv Morgan isn't in this. And Liv Morgan would fit that even better with the way that they seem to be pushing her beforehand. And then she's not in the match. It's an odd choice, I think, with some of these people. But maybe it's an experience thing. Maybe because the ladder match is such a dangerous match normally. I mean, it's a different style of match this year. Maybe they just felt that maybe Liv wasn't quite ready for this type of match, and next year will be her chance.
With Liv Morgan and Ruby Riott feuding over on Raw, it kind of makes sense that Liv Morgan isn't in the match right now, but I see what you mean. Like, Liv Morgan would have been a perfect fit in the Money in the Bank ladder match, as well as Sasha Banks. Like, dollars to donuts. Honestly, I would have thought Sasha had won that and then kind of teased around with Bayley, and that's how the Bayley and Sasha feud would have gone. Like I saw it a million times over, and I was like, there's a perfect opportunity. But to be fair, I also thought that Becky was going to lose to Shayna, and then Becky might have won Money in the Bank. So what do I know?
Sasha Banks, they like their wordplay, so Money in the Banks or Sasha in the Bank or something like that.
Yeah, it's a good point.
It kind of booked itself, but okay, it's the way they've gone. And yeah, well, as I say, it's an interesting match because it's not what we were expecting.
Yeah, it definitely is not what any of this whole predicament is not what we were expecting. 2 matches going on at the same time, going up in WWE headquarters to the top of the roof to get a briefcase for the title. What? Like, this is absolutely insane. But I mean, I'm fair play to WWE for actually getting me invested in this.
Yeah, it came kind of after the week that they had with all the layoffs and me saying I'm cancelling my subscription and all of that. And yeah, they've made a match where I'm like, I'm not going to renew my subscription to the WWE network, but this type of match is an interesting hook. And I am intrigued to see what happens and hear what happens when it does happen. So yeah, it's enough in these weird times to get people in. And that's what we've said before, like, do something a bit different because, the normal feels a bit strange right now.
Yeah, it really does. And I mean, it's gotten to the point where I'm getting used to like watching this setup that they had for the last 2 months. We've been in the Performance Center for the past 2 months almost, and it's been so interesting that this has just become the norm. Oh, Raw's on, there's no crowd. Oh, Smackdown's on, there's no crowd. Oh, AEW is on, there's no crowd. I mean, well, AEW's got a little bit of a crowd, but we'll definitely dive into AEW discussion a little bit. But I mean, getting back to the Money in the Bank pay-per-view itself, like I'm focused on these ladder matches right now because one thing that intrigues me, which is sad to hear too, like Apollo Crews got that injury and he can't compete in the Money in the Bank. I thought he might have just won it with the way they were pushing him because it seemed like they were just saying Apollo Crews, this guy's going to be up there, and then he get an injury. And I almost think that backstage segment on Raw where he was fed up and he didn't want to do an interview or anything and he was pissed off, it made me feel like that might have been even a genuine reaction because he was just fed up at his body for, he finally got this push after all of these years in WWE, and then bam, an injury. Like that's gotta suck.
Yeah, I was surprised. I can't remember exactly how long he's been on the main roster, but he's been on the main roster a while now.
Long enough.
Yeah, longer than a lot of like people from back in the day were even on for the whole careers. And he gets this chance, and I don't want to sound like it. I'm a person that doubts everything that comes out of WWE's mouth, but when I heard that Apollo Crews was injured, I was expecting it to be a work, and then come Monday night, he has this amazing comeback. I mean, we still don't know who that final person is in the men's Money in the Bank match, and I don't know, do we have a qualifier for that? I've not seen anything confirmed as to who's going into a qualifier or who's going to be picked. So part of me is wondering, maybe Apollo Crews clears himself to be in this match, but I don't know.
With how crazy WWE is, it very well could be. But I mean, if it's a legit injury, that absolutely sucks for him. But the interesting thing about this is, with all the crazy bookings that people can't understand when they watch WWE, I'm tempted to put money that this mystery person, whomever it is that they pick on Raw next week to have the final person for the men's Money in the Bank ladder match, is going to win.
Okay.
I have no idea who they are. I don't even know why they'll win. But do you know my reasoning?
I do not. Tell me.
Because at this very moment, WWE doesn't even know who they want to win.
I can believe that.
So how many times have reports come out going, oh, things were changed at last minute. Oh, things were changed at last minute. Oh, the script got ripped up, or it got changed. This got changed, and all this stuff. Like, So I mean, for all I know, this person who is to be announced, and we have no idea who it could be. They could just go, you know what? This person actually can fit into Money in the Bank ladder match. Let's just give it to him. Because, this person now who wasn't planned for this match can now make the match interesting. I don't know. I have no idea. But it wouldn't surprise me. This mystery person, whoever it is, wins the Money in the Bank briefcase. Although rumors are it could be AJ Styles because he is supposed to be on Raw Raw next week.
Yes, I've seen those rumors. Somebody that, I mean, if the current situation wasn't happening, I would put into this match. He's a babyface, so it brings. Actually, I don't know too many babyfaces then in that dynamic. So probably AJ Styles is a good shout. I was going to say Kevin Owens, but given the situation, we know he's not. He's not been involved in the filming recently, so. Yeah.
Is Styles a heel now, though, because of the whole thing with The Undertaker?
Well, he's dead, isn't he? He's buried, he's buried under some rubble, and he hasn't got any friends now to dig him out. So, yeah, he's still under that soil, as far as I know.
Wait a tick. I just remembered something. This Apollo Crews thing has to be a work.
Okay.
They've already recorded Money in the Bank.
Well, yes, I was going to say this. I thought they'd already recorded it, but then I didn't know whether they could have reshot it so many times.
I wondered. Now that makes me wonder too, because weeks ago, apparently as of last week, the Money in the Bank ladder match was already done.
Yeah, I
remember. If Apollo got injured and he couldn't compete then, unless Raw was still recorded, I'm very confused on the recording schedule. I don't know what's recorded and what's live anymore.
I think Raw is live. I don't know whether they have filmed the Money in the Bank. I know the structure and everything was on top of Titan Towers last time we spoke, so about 2 weeks ago. I remember seeing pictures of it, but whether that was because it was getting set up, I don't know. But it's very tricky to predict what WWE is going to do, because it does change a lot and circumstances change a lot. So it might have already happened, and yeah, we'll see on Monday night. But this is the thing, it's got us talking about Monday Night Raw.
Yeah, that's true.
And an intrigue into Monday Night Raw, which is what it's meant to do. I mean, you can see how it should generate interest from the viewers. Whether Monday Night Raw did that on Monday night, I must admit I cannot remember, because it feels like years ago. But yeah, we have that intrigue going in. Who's going to be this mystery guy? And is it going to be Apollo Crews, or is it going to be AJ Styles?
Or someone else.
Or somebody else. Another wrestler. So yeah, it's they're doing a good job of booking this, which you don't tend to say about WWE.
I think it's quite impressive that the fact that WrestleMania was, I think, pre-recorded 2 weeks ahead of time, and no leaks got released, and then no leaks are getting released right now with this whole Money in the Bank thing that's been pre-recorded. I mean, that's pretty impressive for them to keep this stuff under wraps.
It is. It's one of those weird things that everybody is, well, it's quite a close set, I can imagine. So the leaks are likely to be found if they do get out. But Dave Meltzer, Brian Alvarez, all of those guys, even if they knew, I don't think they would be saying what's going to happen, because I think their contacts rely on those contacts more than just this quick scoop that might damage those contacts forever. So yeah, it's great that we have this mystery for pre-recorded stuff. Maybe pre-recorded stuff would work, but there we go. In this weird time, not for live events.
Yeah, it's. I mean, with the also restrictions, certain restrictions are being lifted now as well. So WWE is going to be continuing to do some live shows, as well as AEW. They're going to be recording Double or Nothing, but they'll be live as mentioned at the beginning of the podcast this upcoming Wednesday, and then they're going to be recorded, I think, up until Double or Nothing. I'm pretty sure, But it's pretty fascinating how they're still putting on shows and doing all of this stuff.
Yeah, I think with AEW, they've kind of come to the end of their recorded cycle of shows, haven't they? Because I've heard all sorts of rumours about the commentary being, and sometimes you can tell that it's recorded not when the action is happening. And sometimes it does sound like a soundboard is just being pressed by somebody. I think it was on Botchamania a couple of weeks ago where it was Tony Schiavone just talking like he was in a computer game, and it just kept going over himself. The way that AEW did it seemed to be the right way, in that they got a lot recorded, got a lot of matches done, and released it as and when. And shows weren't necessarily filmed in the same night or in the same order as what we've seen them. And yeah, they're going back to the live shows, but it does mean you get wrestlers coming back that we haven't seen for a bit. So you've got John Moxley coming back, you've got MJF coming in, we've got Matt Hardy coming. So it does bring that variety back, just so long as they're doing it in a safe way. That's all we can ask.
Yeah, I truly hope, again, like I've stated this so many times, but I truly hope that they're doing everything they possibly can to be safe in these crazy times. But back on SmackDown though, how do you feel about Jeff Hardy's return now and all the packages that they've been doing? Because it seems that they plan to push him pretty far.
I'm on board for this. Jeff is a guy back from when I was getting into wrestling. The Hardy Boys were the hot thing, along with Edge and Christian, and obviously the Dudley Boys. The stuff they did together were fantastic, and huge fan of Jeff. And I'm pleased that it seems that he's going to go into a program with Sheamus initially, because Sheamus is a guy who I've always had a real soft spot for Sheamus ever since he turned up in about 2009, 2010 era. Just from nowhere. Maybe it's because he was Irish and it felt a bit closer to the UK. That it was like, oh, somebody quite close to us. But the way he just went straight in at the top, and he went for the WWE title straight in. And Sheamus looks in great shape too. He looks amazing. His workout videos have clearly pulled off. So I think him and Jeff are going to pull something really amazing together. I hope. Anyway.
I hope so too. And the fact that Sheamus has worked so hard to get him back or get himself back in shape after the injury scare that he had as well, where he might not have been able to wrestle ever again. So I mean, props to him for working that hard and doing his best. But as for Jeff Hardy, everybody who knows me knows I've been a massive fan of Jeff Hardy since I was a child. He's one of my all-time favorite wrestlers, and I've always wanted him to come back to WWE to have that one last final like awesome run where he goes on a high note or even a low note, not like a low note like a negative way, but he might get defeated, whatever. But as long as it's a good story, and like I always hoped for that coming back. Like when he left with CM Punk and Jeff Hardy's feud back in 2009, I think it was. That was a pretty awesome feud. And I was so happy with how the 3 years of Jeff's career there from 2006, 2009, there was some ups and downs, but there was also he was given a world title finally. He showed the world that he could be a main event guy, that he could hold the world title, that the audience would be behind him, and they were. And I just want to see that from him again. And I know he's gone through his troubles and his demons and stuff like that, and a lot of us have, but I just hope to God that he's in a place where now he can fully handle it, because he's got a family and everything. But of course, that's not my place to go into that. But he's done so much for his career. He's done so much for himself. He's done so much for his family, and he's working himself back up. My scare here now, putting on my nerd hat into WWE, is Sheamus just came back recently as well. And I don't want these two guys who have come back and have these crazy momentums going. Like Jeff Hardy hasn't even been on TV in the last month or so, and he has this massive chunk of momentum behind him right now, despite his I think his 1 or 2 appearances he had last month or a month and a half ago. when they changed his move to Twisted Fury. It was very, very strange for me when they did that, but I was like, okay, well, they're kind of owning things here, or maybe Matt took the twist of fate. I don't know, but I just don't want to. I don't want to see two people that have all this momentum, one lose it completely. So I'm hoping that we get some sort of Jeff Hardy versus Sheamus feud that lasts for like 2 to 3 months, and when it's all finished, both look strong.
It sounds, because we're talking about Sheamus, I don't want to go down the route of booking from the past, but maybe a best of 7 series or something like that, where they are just upping the stakes each time they face each other. They're sort of circling each other, but never really meet properly until you have a big show. They hit each other hard. Maybe Sheamus wins the first one. Jeff comes off, as Jeff can do, where he's come out a little bit broken, but because he's a bit broken, he builds himself up and takes the next match. And it's 50-50 booking, but it's built with a story in mind. And yeah, Jeff Hardy, I've noticed a lot since the Hardys came back. And if people have not seen the Hardys documentary, it's a couple of years old now, that's on the network. It is brilliant to watch because it goes into the background of the Hardy Boys, both of them, and it is brutally honest. It goes into the troubles of both the brothers. Jeff's story, that he's admitting it, he's owning it more, I feel now. Like, it's getting mentioned by WWE in the packages that, yeah, Jeff has had these problems. It's no denying he's had these issues in the past, but he's still here. He's still coming back. He still fights.
Yeah.
And that's Jeff's kind of story. What I'd like to see from Jeff, if you book it to the end of Jeff's career, say, is Jeff crashes and burns at the end. Like, he wins the world title. He holds on to that world title for a bit, and then eventually just it all catches up on him, and he does something crazy, and he kayfabe, that's it. Kind of, there, we're done. And then maybe if years later he wanted to come back, he can come back. But you kind of put it down as Jeff did everything he could for this business, and Jeff did everything he could to maintain that world championship. I think that would be a great story for Jeff, because that 2006-2009 run where he was building to those world titles and were Jeff Hardy. That was what he was meant to be doing, and it's unfortunate that stuff got in the way of that, and hopefully he can kind of get his time again. That would be really nice. I think lots of fans as well would like to see that.
Yeah, he has a way with the crowd. Like, you cannot deny it. I don't know what Jeff Hardy has, whether it's because he used to dye his hair, or he does high flying moves, or he just really easy to. I don't know. It's not even to empathize with. That's probably wrong to say. It's the wrong words. But he has this connection with the fans that is undeniable, that he's continually had for his whole career, which is insane. Like, when we have that connection with the fans, it's very rare.
It is. His nickname's the Charismatic Enigma.
Exactly.
And that is Jeff Hardy. You can't sum him up better than that. He just has this hold with the fan base that is always there, and you can't put a finger on what draws you to him, because there's a multitude of things that you've mentioned, like the bright colours initially, but then he's got these amazing performances in him. But he just seems like a guy that is just genuinely a nice guy to people.
Yeah.
And that comes across, and you can see by the fan reactions in arenas that it's still there, it's still strong. I mean, the stuff with Randy Orton and him in the Hell in a Cell match.
Yes.
With the screwdriver in the ear. I mean, that was excruciating.
Yeah, I remember that, and I was like, oh my gosh, Jeff, jeez. But I mean, that was their idea. Like, they came up with that backstage. So, I mean, he gets creative, and I'm surprised he lost that match, though, because he's never had a Hell in a Cell match before. and then he lost it, and I was like, I really thought he would have won or something.
But he lost it in a blaze of glory with his crazy move off the top of
Yes.
the cell. So
Yes,
it kind of was a Jeff Hardy match in a way. He went for it, and unfortunately it backfired that time.
Yeah, it's really interesting how Jeff's career has happened, and throughout his wrestling career, like not even in WWE either. Back in TNA, one of his TNA feuds, or his, I guess, characters, when he became I don't know if you ever watched this, but he was the Antichrist of professional wrestling.
I've not seen that side of him. I've seen Will-O-the-Wisp.
Okay, Willow's crazy, but this was Jeff Hardy, like, heel at his core. Like, you don't see Jeff Hardy be a heel. You see him grumpy, you've seen him upset, you've seen him pissed off, you've seen him, a little angry at times where certain feuds have gotten him that way, but you've never seen him go full on heel. He does it so well. The Antichrist character was something that was just so interesting. He changed the belt too into one of his own creations. It was like he was always wearing like black and purple and white stuff, and he was just like, it was really cool. Like I wish I had watched more of that when it was in TNA. I only saw clips and stuff and paid attention to it here and there, but it was really, really cool, and I would love it. Even if Jeff Hardy, like, you know what, if Sheamus beat up Jeff when he came back from this big thing and somehow this turned into Jeff Hardy going heel, I'm not saying Sheamus would be face, but over time, I would just, of course fans want to see Jeff Hardy be the Jeff Hardy that they love, but Jeff's creative enough, and if he's given just a little bit of creative freedom, just like Matt Hardy or Bray Wyatt or any of the people out there who have given that little bit of push, that little bit of, you can have a little bit of say, I think Jeff could do wonders with that.
Yeah, definitely so. It's I look at what Matt's doing, or is starting to do in AEW, and I kind of wish that Jeff was there with him. Sometimes when they're separate, they feel a little bit incomplete. And yeah, to see Matt with his Broken Universe, and to see Jeff's kind of Brother Neroing it up and all of that would have been great, because we didn't see that it was hinted at in WWE, but they never went along that route because of injuries and just separating them as well. But yeah, I'm going to have to look up that Jeff stuff, because I've not really seen him as a heel. So I'll have to look that up. That can be a bit of homework for this week.
Well, he was, I believe, I could be wrong, I'm trying to remember, but he was with Eric Bischoff.
Okay.
Yeah, Eric Bischoff, Jeff Hardy.
That's not a combination I would have thought of, but okay.
If I'm wrong right now and I can't remember this, I'm pretty sure there's a bunch of people on the other end of this podcast going, la, 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 you're wrong. But I'm pretty sure Eric Bischoff was involved at some point, whether he was a GM or something, I don't know. There was Sting got involved too, and that's when Jeff Hardy did the whole 2011 bad thing where
yeah, I've seen that.
So it was in that year, but there were some good things that came out of that year. I'm just ignoring the bad. But with about 15 minutes roughly left, though, I know that you caught up on AEW today, and I don't want that to go to waste. So please tell me your highlights about this week's AEW, because every week, and again, I say this every single week, it continues to be a breath of fresh air. Even those 10 people wrapped around the ring make a load of difference. I don't understand how, but it does. It's a different product. It's showing different. It's treated differently, and it's more interesting. So please, man, tell me your highlights of this week.
So number one is Britt Baker.
Yes.
The Britt Baker promo was just fantastic. I remember months ago being on here and kind of not getting Britt Baker. It was during the face run, and it just kind of didn't make sense, and there was no personality there. There was no character. But since they've turned her heel, she has just grabbed the ball and she has run with it. She has taken on all sorts of advice, and she is just fantastic at it. That type of character that she's playing, the overprivileged, I deserve this kind of. I'm a role model to you all, and it just absolutely brilliant that the way she just embodies that character constantly, and the stuff she does with Tony Schiavone as well, where she just patronizes him so blatantly in front of the camera. It's fantastic, and she's really become the star of that division, and that's the thing. AEW seem to be starting to build a women's division now. We've not just got the championship, we've not just got random matches, we're starting to get characters. There's still a little bit more work to be done to make it a bit deeper, but yeah, great promo this week. I was laughing and enjoying it so much.
Me too. Britt Baker just cracks me up. Oh my lord! I'm just as you said. Like, she's taken this and taken the ball and running with it. And oh man, like I can't wait to see where this Britt Baker character goes, especially at some point when she does get the title, because at some point she's gonna get it. At some point, we don't know when. But if she keeps this character up and then gets the title, oh man, are we gonna have one great female heel?
Oh, it's going to be amazing. It's going to wind people up so much. Like, I've heard people get annoyed by the fact that she keeps mentioning she's a dentist. That's the whole point of this heel gimmick. That she's taken the bit that AEW were always telling us when she was face to sort of go, oh, by the way, she's also a dentist. Cheer for her. She's now taken it and gone, I'm a dentist as well, This is the thing that I own. I'm so much better than you all. It's brilliant. Everything she's doing is fantastic, and she should be praised for it, because she is, as we say, 6 months ago, she did it was on the Jericho cruise, where she did that promo, and it just fell so flat. And that was kind of like, oh no, what are they doing? But then she picked up and went, here we go. Because that was kind of the start of the heel phase, where she was trying to say she was prettier than everyone else. And you could tell she wasn't quite comfortable with that. But she's comfortable with this role now. And yeah, she's fantastic. Keep doing it, Britt, because it's brilliant.
For sure. Absolutely sure. Like that little segment when she was recording the video with her and her assistant. And she kept telling her assistant what to say and what not to say, and then her assistant was acting like she's actually really not this stuff, and blah blah blah. And oh my gosh, it was beautiful. Like, she's turned into this character where she's just so far stuck up her own ass.
I've also realised I should have called her Dr. Britt Baker. I'm so sorry, Dr. Britt Baker.
Yes. Gotta show respect.
Show respect.
That she's so far stuck up her ass is lovely. but it's true. I love this character though. Like how it is on it's so great when a wrestler finds a character like this. It doesn't matter what character it is. When they find that character that they can just dive into and work with and make it bigger than than it needs to be. It works every single time. Sometimes, like, even Chris Jericho said it too. Like, some of his greatest things are just like him cranked to 11. Like, it's still him, but he just cranks it so far up to 11 where it's like he's acting beyond what he would. But it's something that he might want to do, but he wouldn't do it because of life things and laws and certain things. You can't hurt other people. But when you take your inner self and you're like, let's just crank this up to 11 and have fun with it. Right? So I find that works the best when people can do that with characters. This actually heel change, and I know we're going to be talking about AEW a little bit more, but just like shouting back to when Alexa Bliss was in NXT, this is what this reminds me of. We had Britt Baker coming out all happy and cheering with the fans and giving them high fives and stuff like that. And then it wasn't really working, unfortunately, right now. And she was told to go heel, or not. I don't know if she was told to go heel, because that's what WWE or NXT did with Alexa Bliss. She was this sparkly, happy-go-lucky character and like cheerleader. And then they were like, okay, we're gonna put you with Buddy Murphy and oh my gosh, who was his partner?
Oh, I've gone blank as well.
Oh, well, it doesn't matter. The point is, there was a team, and she was told to go heel. And she did, and she worked magic with it, and now she's owned it, and now she's kind of be able to come full circle with it now. She's still that character, but she's able to mess with it and go heel and face and best friends with Nikki Cross and whatever happens from there. But she's gone 5 years of this character now, where she's become multi-time champion. She has a stature now. People know who this Alexa Bliss character is. Like she's in WWE now. She's fixated into the grind. You know what I mean? She's there. It's like, wow. She's one of the main females now because of what she did with this character. And Britt Baker seems that same mold where, again, that character wasn't working out. So she might have be given advice, or hell, maybe she took some advice, or maybe she went up to Tony Khan and was like, hey, can I try these few things? And because they're pretty open there with ideas. But the fact is, once this character change happened, she's been knocking it out of the freaking park and nailing it and making the most obnoxious promos and getting people to legit hate her for the right reasons. And again, when you have a character like this and they're cranking it up to 11, if that's what she's doing, or she's just doing her best to be as creative as possible, she's nailing it.
Definitely. You always want your heels to be people you hate. And she grinds everyone's gears. She picks those buttons, and it's fantastic. So, yeah, she's doing great with that.
Now, I mean, speaking of Jericho too, I mean, he's now come to the end of his, I think, 4 weeks on commentary, and according to rumors, he recorded that all at once, which was just absolutely insane. But for both of them, Tony Schiavone and Jericho, just being on commentary for 8 hours, my God. But now, next week, he's finally going to be in a match again, and we have Les Sex Gods versus Matt Hardy and Kenny Omega right after the Bubbly Bunch and the Manitoba Melee.
Oh, yeah. Les Sex Gods. It just... That is the perfect name. It shouldn't be, but it is. Yeah, the Bubbly Bunch stuff that they've been doing, the TikTok stuff they did last week. I'm sorry, I'm too old and out the loop. I don't really know what they did, but that was hilarious. And the fact that the whole melee that they did started off the back of who had the best, whatever that dance is called. It just, yeah, it's that whole thing of just be creative and let people do what they want to do. And the fact that they got so many cameos in, I mean, there was some that they went so quick I didn't even spot who it was. I was just like, that was somebody. And some of them are people I'm not fully familiar with as well, but I got the big ones. I mean, I got his dad being in there as well. It was fantastic. It's, yeah, Chris Jericho, we've said it before on this podcast, like, he's cementing himself as one of the best of all time right now. He's on an absolute roll with it, and he has got a career after wrestling. He is a great commentator. He puts people over, even because he's playing heel, but he puts the faces over. But he also sort of badmouths them as well. So he's great at it, and yeah, he's going to be fantastic when it becomes time for him to become a commentator full time. It will be amazing.
Yeah, I mean, that Manitoba Melee thing, that I didn't even know what to expect. I didn't know, like, I thought we were going to get another Flim Flam dance, which apparently he copyrighted. It's not TikTok, it's Flim Flam.
Oh, it's Flim Flam.
Flim Flam dance. I thought we were going to get another one of those, and I was like, okay, that was kind of funny last week, but I can't believe this is happening. And then he got creative, really creative. I thought that, given the whole, crazy situation around the world, because dare not speak its name, I thought that was very creative, having everybody do selfie videos and, hit the screen or punch the screen or slap it or kick it or something. Like, some of the moves that were coming out of that, like, you had Sonny Kiss doing his heel move there, where he dives up like I don't know how he moves his body, but he does it, and he kicks in front of himself or over his head, kicking the camera. I thought that was pretty creative. And then by the end of it, we have Vicky Guerrero, of all people.
I know.
Like that, I mean, I know she made an appearance on AEW, but that was funny. Like, the names that were coming out of there were it was hilarious. And I'm in Canada. I've never heard of a Manitoba Melee in my life. And If I have, then I guess if I haven't, then I guess maybe it's a sport thing, and I don't watch sports very much. But that was funny, and oh my gosh, I I don't know if he could do another one because it's already been played, so maybe wait a bit. But again, he just keeps inventing himself, and again, the sex gods. Like he calls Sammy Guevara a sex god, and then he's Le Champion. So
Yep.
frig, like it's the little things, and I'm so happy Jericho is in AEW.
I remember having a conversation about Chris Jericho before AEW had started, and it was whilst he was in Japan, and there were rumours that he was going to go to Impact or something, or appear on Impact, and I was like, it's weird because Jericho's synonymous with WWE, and it'd just be strange to see him at Impact, and now it's like he's an AEW guy.
Yeah,
I mean, it's only been going a year and a bit, but that's Chris Jericho. I mean, his career in WCW and WWE was fantastic, and the stuff he went and did in New Japan was different, but he reinvented himself. But this is just tops everything. It just is fantastic, and to be Le Champion and become this social media sort of generator of content is fantastic. His finger is on the pulse. I think is probably the best way of putting that. He knows exactly what to do.
Yeah, he certainly does. And I mean, before we sign off here, there's one final thing that I just want to talk to you about, and that is the final set for the TNT Championship. We don't know what it looks like yet. I can't wait to see it. But it's Cody versus Lance Archer, which was my original pick. We are here at Cody versus Lance Archer at Double or Nothing. Who do you think is going to win for the TNT Championship?
Well, the other sort of highlight for me of Dynamite this week is sort of the big guys. I'm going to mention Wardlow very quickly.
Oh, yes.
Because just the simple thing of messing about with his straps that he does scares me to hell. I would not want to be in the ring with that guy. He's just a machine. But Lance Archer is the other amazing big guy that they've got. I feel a bit sad for not mentioning Mr. Brody Lee in that, but Lance Archer, it was perfect what they said on commentary of, I don't know what a murder hawk monster is, but Lance Archer is one.
Yeah.
The way he destroyed Dustin was haunting. I mean, Dustin put up a fight because he's Dustin Rhodes and he won't stop. But yeah, I don't know how to call the TNT Championship match with Cody, because Cody's match against Darby was brilliant again. Like Darby Allin, we've mentioned it, Darby Allin in years to come is going to be the guy. He's not the guy yet, and they're building up so many stories with the fact that he can't quite beat Cody. And when he does beat Cody, it's going to be amazing. Who's going to be TNT champion? I think it's going to be Lance Archer, because you've then got Cody. He's been denied the World Championship, which he can't fight for. And the TNT Championship is the thing that he needs to fill that gap.
Yep.
And Lance is the murder hawk monster that has beaten him to it and holds the thing captive. And with Jake Roberts in his corner as well, which is a shame the whole situation's happening, because Jake, with all his health issues, unfortunately can't be there and help. But his vignettes and his promos are amazing. The way he calls Cody Caesar and just talks down to Cody, with Lance Archer having that belt, would be even better. And it would be amazing to see what Cody does next, because he's lost the World Championship and then he loses the TNT Championship. Where does he go next? What happens next? Does he become more desperate? And what happens if MJF gets a title shot against Jon Moxley?
I completely agree with all those thoughts. And don't you dare forget, MJF has serious injuries right now, man. He did his neck, and he can't wrestle right now. So we have to put our very best thoughts and prayers to send them to MJF, because he's dealing with a lot of pain right now. And, nicking his neck, that's not easy to recover from, man. From shape.
I mean, he's hangnailed the week before. It's just, I mean, his nails come back stronger.
Oh my gosh, I know.
He's overhealed. That's how.
I'm trying so hard. I freaking love it. Oh my god, MJF. What a glorious way to end the podcast. Oh my gosh. We'll definitely have to wrap things up, but I'm so happy that you came on to talk about AEW and SmackDown.
Thanks for having me. It's great to have somebody to talk to about these things and to just provide a little bit of respite and entertainment for people, hopefully.
I truly hope that people are at least entertained by the content that we're putting out. And since we mentioned Jeff Hardy a lot on this podcast, I'm going to recommend a few Jeff Hardy matches for people to go back and watch if they want to. I believe it's a WrestleMania 17 match with Edge, Christian, Dudley's, and the Hardy Brothers, or the Hardy Bros, or the Hardy Boys. all the same thing. They are in a ladder match, which is, I believe, a TLC, an unofficial TLC match back then. And I also recommend Jeff Hardy versus The Undertaker for the world title on Raw in a ladder match. That was amazing. It was American Badass Taker versus Jeff Hardy in a ladder match. So I highly recommend going back to watch that. And I highly recommend going back to watch Jeff Hardy versus Edge versus Triple H at Armageddon in December 2008, I believe. So those are just a few good matches to shout out for Jeff Hardy if you want something to do. But other than that, we'll wrap things up. Thanks to everyone who continues to listen to the podcast. If you want to hear your voice on here, simply send me a PM on any of my social media. You can find that at SoundCloud under Lotus Moon Productions, Facebook under Lotus Moon Productions, Twitter under Lotus Moon Prod, and you can search us up on YouTube under Lotus Moon Productions. So with all that, you guys take care out there. This has been LMP Wrestling, and we're signing off.